You are listening to Able Radio, simplifying productivity for small business owners everywhere. If you are looking for 1% improvements that add up to big results, this is the place for you. Every week, we learn about simple systems and tools that will help you build the business and life you've always wanted. Now here's your host, Zachary Sexton.
This is Zach, and we are doing a guided audio mind sweep. What is a mind sweep? Well, a mind sweep is a series of triggers. These triggers are just words like dog food that will get your mind racing on potential actions that you have in your world or potential obligations that you might not be thinking about right now, but nonetheless will crop up in real life or in your mind if you do not address them. So that's what it is, a mind sweep. I'm going to read off a series of triggers, and this is most useful to you if you feel like you've got a lot swimming around in your head. Maybe you just transitioned to a new job, or you're starting a new business, you moved to a new city, you had a kid, you started a big project, or maybe you just feel like you've been burning the candle at both ends and you're stressed. Potential things are keeping you up at night. You're feeling anxious about all of the stuff that you have to do. So this mind sweep is here to calm you down. It's a really good first step for creating a strong action list that you can use to make sure you're focused and taking action on your goals and doing those routine maintenance tasks that need to happen. And we all know there's competing areas in your life. You've got your personal finances, you've got your business, you've got your home and your physical environment there, your office environment. You need to have fun every once in a while. You got to get out, do some vacations and some recreating. Personal growth, maybe there's some books or some conferences that you want to attend. There's your health. That's the maintenance that needs to happen. If you don't take care of your body, man, it's going to be hard to be productive. You've got your family and your friends, you've got your romance, and you've got your philanthropy. And some of these areas get put on the back burner, and sometimes when they get put on the back burner, they get left there. And that's when urgent tasks, urgent to-dos, urgent emergencies start to crop up. For example, if you don't get your oil changed for 15,000 miles, I imagine an urgent trip to the mechanic is going to be coming up. And you know those people who seem to always have urgent tasks cropping up, and, well, maybe send them to this audio. So this is 100% something I plan on using for myself if I let one of my Trello boards go for too long. That's my personal task and project manager. Or if I'm feeling overwhelmed by a big project or a big new endeavor. So a few tools you might need before getting started. One is a journal. So if you keep a journal, whether it's paper or an Evernote or digitally, bring that out. That'll help trigger some more actions for you. The second thing you'll need is a calendar. So if you have a physical calendar, pull that off the wall and bring it here. And if you have one on Google or Outlook, make sure that's available to you. Second thing you'll need is, if you're doing this old school, if you're doing this with pen and paper, have pen and paper. One suggestion would be note cards. If you have some of those index cards, it's great to put a single action on each of those index cards. And that way you can order and prioritize them and shuffle them around and put them on an electronic to-do list if you want to. If you are more digitally inclined, I'm doing this on a Google Doc right now, so that's a good way of doing it. You can have a bullet list that you can then transfer over to Trello or Todoist or Asana or whatever your electronic task manager is, if that's going to be a next action for you. So, what's going on? What's going on today? That's your first trigger. What's some work that needs to be done today in your personal life? Any phone calls that need to happen, or text messages, or responding to Facebook or Twitter today? Let's look back a week. Grab your calendar, look at all the meetings that you had. Is there any follow-up to do with those meetings? Looking at that previous week? Even just mentally rolling through the days, you can sometimes see a action line in there. Something I'd like to do at the end of the day is to just walk through it. What did I focus on in the morning, the afternoon, the evening? That'll pull some actions out. That'll remind me to do some things. You can feel free to look at your journal now. Let's go back a few pages. See if there's anything cropping up for you that could turn into an action or a project, or maybe just an idea that needs a little bit more processing. Don't worry if you have or you think you have something written on another list. It never hurts to double down, and you may not have it. So just keep writing, write without a filter. Type away if you're typing. Scroll away if you're scrolling. If you're on a roll, feel free to ignore me or press pause on this audio. Continue to let the thoughts come as I guide you further. Since your calendar is nearby, you've considered today, you've looked at the past week. Maybe let's look forward a couple weeks. What's on the horizon? Are there any meetings or travel that you need to prepare for? Depending on when you listen to this, the season might be changing. I know I'm going from spring to summer here in Austin, Texas, and need to do some things in my garden. I'm not responsible for the pool, but maybe if you have a pool, or it's winter, you gotta winterize your lawn. Are there any problems underneath the surface with any of your people that are bubbling up that might need to be addressed? Look around your current environment. Is there anything that isn't where it should be? What needs organizing? You could do a mental walkthrough of your house. Are there some rooms or potentially garages or attics or basements that need your attention? In your house, you have people. Do any of those people have birthdays? Is that something you need to think about? Or any holidays coming up where buying something on Amazon Prime will save you, but maybe you want to do something special? Are there any projects you've started, but for whatever reason haven't completed? Maybe you're not clear on why you're doing it. Maybe you don't know the exact next action, or maybe you're just in the middle of it and need to clarify further to figure out where you're going. Are there any projects that you've been thinking about starting for a long time? Man, I really should get that newsletter going on MailChimp. Are there any commitments or promises to others? Partners in your business? Boss or colleague? Subordinates? Customers? Other people in your organization? Other organizations? Other professionals? Just go to that networking event and promise to follow up, and still got a stack of those business cards. Maybe you have to follow up with a phone call. What are your phone calls that you need to respond to or initiate? You need to go through your voicemails. You need to zero your email inbox and figure out what's in there. What about your physical mailbox? You go through some of that paperwork. Anything that you need to submit, some proposals or an article, guest post, blog on your own website. Maybe you've got a few articles half written that you can start to finish. Any meetings that you need to request? What about the financials? Need to look at your cash flows or budgets, profit and loss. Need to get a new credit line. You need to plan a project, plan a quarter, plan your key objectives. Plan a meeting, plan a presentation, plan some travel. Plan that office relocation. Ooh, that doesn't sound fun. If you're in Austin, give Cody at Fast Feets a call. He's a buddy of mine. Is there any administration that needs to happen? Procedures to be written? Legal issues, insurance? Any customers that you need to talk to? What about marketing, online or offline? How's the office equipment? Is that laptop on its last legs? Need to update that iPhone? Need more storage on Dropbox? What about obligations not that you have, but that you're waiting for? So information from somebody or a task or a project that you're waiting on. We talked about personal growth. What some professional development that you need to have? Some personal training, some seminars, some videos. Some books. Some Googling. Education at the university or community college. How's your wardrobe looking? You need some new professional clothes. Thinking more personally, what about commitments or promises to your spouse, your children, other members of your family, your friends? Have you borrowed something and not returned it? Are there some organizations you'd like to volunteer for? Big events, already mentioned birthdays, anniversaries, weddings, graduation, holidays, travel, vacations, social events, sporting events, cultural events. Already buying tickets to ACL, Austin City Limits. It's not till October. I'm recording this in May, by the way. October, I realized that didn't mean anything. Any research that you need to do, places to go, people to invite over to dinner, local attractions. Any bills you need to put on auto pay? Need to change banks? Look at your investment. Are you investing automatically? I was almost going to shit on you, but investments is the trigger. How your bookkeeping and taxes looking for this year? Are you going to have an oh shoot moment again next April? Get ahead of that. Is there any sort of personal, maybe long-term disability insurance that you should be looking at? How's your air conditioning, plumbing, roofing, landscaping looking around the house? Is that light bulb still out? That cutting board still broken? Things in the kitchen? Any sports equipment need to be sold or bought? How's your luggage looking? What about other tools? Does the dog have dog food? The cat have cat food? The fish have fish food? But your computer, is your hardware and software looking good? Are your passwords protected in a password manager? Like 1Password? Or LastPass? You need to book that appointment with your doctor or dentist or some other specialist. Any hobbies that need to be looked into? Any errands that you got to go run and make to the drugstore, to the bank, to the cleaner? Anything with your kids or community, schools or neighborhood? How are your rituals? You take time for yourself in the morning or the evening? Keep writing, writing, writing. Feel free to continue on. When you're done, you might have 50, 60, 100, 200 list on here, or items on your list, rather. And that's great. That's your first stop. You can keep this incomplete list around with you. This was an incomplete trigger list. There are so many more things in the world that I couldn't begin to help you think of all the would, could, should, ought tos. But now you have a running list that you can add to and start to flesh out and organize and prioritize and make sure you're taking the correct proactive attention on all the different areas of your life, of your personal finances, of your business, of your environment, your fun and recreation, your personal growth, your health, your family and friends, your romance, and your contribution of your philanthropy. Hopefully this was helpful in sweeping out the dusty corners of your brain, and you will have a few less of those, oh shoot, I got to remember this, because you have this list to start with. The written version of this mind sweep can be found over at zacharysexton.com/17. You can also see a video of how I handle the would, could, should, ought tos, too many obligations that I've swept from my mind, and organize it in my second brain, which is Trello. You can get a free account at Trello.com. And if this is something that you find very useful and you're wanting to know what the next actions are, what the next steps are, that video would help. And if you are wanting to do this yourself, I am currently taking on full day coaching clients that will set up a complete system. So especially if you're one of those overcommitted entrepreneurs who has a hard time managing all of your obligations, we'll create this system for you that allow you to slow down and make fewer but better commitments. And this is specifically geared towards those chronic helpers, those people who say yes to everything because they get fulfilled by helping others, but fall into the trap of overcommitting themselves and then doing the thing that they don't want to do the most, which is disappointing people. So the first 3 founding member slots are taken up, but if you want to join me, feel free to go over to my Hire Me tab. I'll also put a link in there in the show notes, and you can find out more about the details there. So thank you so much for tuning in. I'll see you next Productive Wednesday.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of Able Business Radio. Zach wants to help more small business owners like you make 1% improvements that add up to big results. Was this show helpful? Pay it forward. Subscribing and writing a review in iTunes is one of the best ways to help more people find out about the show. Thanks again for tuning in. We hope to see you here next Wednesday, where we will continue to share 1% improvements that will help you become a more useful, less stressed business owner.